When did you realize you were guilty until proven innocent? 3 days after Grandma's funeral, my phone buzzed with texts from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. How could you do this to her? Taking advantage of an old woman with dementia is disgusting. I had no idea what they meant until my cousin Derek called, his voice shaking with rage. Someone had sent the family audio recordings of me supposedly pressuring Grandma into changing her will, plus bank statements showing cash deposits into my account right before she died. Grandma had raised me after my parents died when I was 12. She'd been my world for 15 years, and I'd spent the last 2 caring for her as her health declined. When the lawyer read her will, she'd left me her house and most of her savings, with smaller amounts for my cousins. I figured it was because we'd been so close, but suddenly the whole family believed I'd manipulated a sick old woman for money. The recordings were devastating. They sounded exactly like me, my lisp, the way I clear my throat when nervous. You know I'm the only one who really cares about you, Grandma. Everyone else just pretends. If you don't change that will, I might not be able to keep taking care of you. Remember what happened to Mrs. Winslow when her family abandoned her? You don't want to end up alone in one of those horrible nursing homes, do you? In one recording, I was supposedly threatening to move away and leave her helpless if she didn't show some gratitude. Another had me coldly calculating her remaining life expectancy and discussing which belongings I wanted most. It made me sick hearing it. The bank statements showed deposits of exactly $5,000 every month for 6 months, supposedly payments from Grandma for care. But I'd never asked her for money. I paid for everything from my own paychecks, even using my savings for her medications and home health aid. My cousin Brody, who'd expected to inherit the house, was leading the charge to contest the will. The family hired a lawyer and froze all of Grandma's accounts while they investigated the elder abuse. That's when I remembered something that had bothered me. Brody had insisted on installing a new security system at Grandma's house 6 months before she died, claiming it was for her safety. He'd spent way longer than necessary setting it up, saying he wanted the cameras to capture everything important. I still had access to the house, so I went back and dug through the system. The cameras had been recording continuously, and Brody had been the only one with remote access. Going through that footage was awful, but I found something Brody had missed. While he'd been careful to delete most of his visits, there was one timestamp showing him in Grandma's study at 2 a.m., sitting at her computer with professional audio equipment spread across her desk. I recognized the setup because Brody worked as a sound engineer at a recording studio. The date was 2 weeks before the first suspicious bank deposit, and you could clearly see him holding up printed emails while speaking into a microphone, obviously creating the fake recordings of my voice. I downloaded everything and made copies. Then I did exactly what Brody had done to me. I sent the security footage to every single family member, along with screenshots of Brody's professional profile highlighting his expertise in voice synthesis and audio manipulation. I included bank records showing the $5,000 deposits had actually come from Brody's own account, apparently an attempt to make it look like she was paying me for care. The timestamps proved he'd been planning this for months. The family meeting was brutal. When we confronted Brody with his own security footage, he completely broke down and admitted everything. He'd used AI voice cloning technology from his recording studio to create fake conversations with Grandma. Turns out he'd been embezzling money from the studio for years to fund a gambling addiction. When his business partner started asking questions, Brody had assumed he'd inherit enough from Grandma to cover the missing money and avoid prison. When Grandma left everything to me instead, he panicked and tried to frame me for elder abuse so he could contest the will. His own mother made him confess everything to the lawyer. The will was settled in my favor, and Brody had to pay back the $30,000 he'd already borrowed against his expected inheritance. But when his business partner found out about the embezzlement, Brody disappeared overnight. He fled before anyone could stop him, abandoning his family and leaving behind a trail of debt and destroyed relationships. Last I heard, there's still a warrant out for his arrest.